And we are live. Welcome to the SEO and AI news for week 37. So that's last week. There is 1 week missing. I've been on vacation, but I am back, your friendly neighborhood SEO expert, ready to help you out and summarize everything that's happened. A lot of things are going on here. I'm not going to, I did gather some news for last week. I'm just going to go through one thing. But my name is Frederick Drost. I work at Precis Digital, and let's just dive right into them. The only thing from the week where I was on vacation that I really want to go through here is how Google will not be forced to sell Chrome or Android, which is interesting because they will still be forced to share user input data and user interaction data. And so a lot of platforms like Ahrefs, SEMrush, they might be able to buy this up and then use it. So that could be interesting, but it could take a while, maybe a few years before we even get that done. Plus, there'll be a lot of appeals, et cetera, et cetera. So not something we'll see right away. And then in the more recent news here, there is a spam update that's going on. I think it's still being rolled out here. And what's really interesting is we can see there's been a lot of volatility. Gabe here is sharing on Twitter. What we've noticed is for sensitive areas, so a few clients that are in the sex toy arena, they've seen a massive drop and almost completely invisible on searches like sex toys, and then slowly gaining them back. Let's say last week, end of last week and beginning of this week, slowly gaining those positions back. So I think it might have overdone it when it comes to the spam stuff, and a lot of sites are still seeing something back. So yeah, there was a bit of panic. But what's interesting is what replaced the sex toy companies was just pharmaceutical pages and pharmacies, etc., that might have some sex toys. So yeah, pretty interesting. But again, if you're completely dropped, you might not have done something wrong. It's just a spam update. So good to know. And in other news, Google is now testing a specific filter in Search Console, which can just filter data for AI overviews. We've been asking for it. We want it, and it might be coming. Again, people are skeptical. A lot of people haven't seen this in their Search Console, so no, just give it a bit of time. Google is probably just testing it. Let's cross our fingers. That way we can finally see the data and actually act upon it. Google is also retiring the Core Web Vitals Crux dashboard, so the Looker Studio one. Something that was quite nice and easy to create back in the days, but not as good as Crux Viz. So if you remember, if you want to go into Crux Viz here, you can see, just type in any URL and you get a lot more granular data. So Crux Viz is great. And you can also, of course, use BigQuery data sets and kind of run your own tests or fetch it. I think you can fetch it from their connector, so the user metric data as well, and then throw it in and do whatever you want. So Crux Viz is every 2 weeks it's updated, so pretty good. So I'm not really crying over this one. Barry Schwartz here also flagged that Google has dropped support for the num 100 URL parameter, basically not showing the 100 search results, which is a big deal here, I guess, because what's happening here is there's ranking tools relying on it. So if you're using Ahrefs, SEMrush, they have had a hard time adapting to this, so be very careful not taking that data for granted. Look at the past data and then see, well, okay, if we've had fluctuations now, let's wait it out a little bit. Also look at your own Search Console. Maybe there's a discrepancy you can then apply to competitors since you don't have access to their Search Console. Voila, in any case. What's really interesting about this, what's happening here is, I have 2 URLs here because the Brody Clark is also shared that he's been seeing some drops in impressions in Search Console, and people are saying this might be due to the fact that some of these tools were accounting for some impressions by doing these searches. So that might be the reason we've seen that drop. Google doesn't really need the search parameter, I think, for Search Console tracking. So that's interesting. So Search Console impressions might have been dropping, which could increase Ahrefs' position in some cases, depending. Third-party tools as well might not be very reliable right now. Personally, I use ValueSerp as well, which does searches and fetches SERP data. They also had a bit of an issue. They were down for 1 day, but the developers, they fixed it quite fast. Yeah, so that was the news here, and here's a few analysis. So of course, Mary Haynes, always posting. She has broken down the Department of Justice versus Google trial documents to give us some insights here. Again, not going into much into detail here, but I like the common corpus as a training base for Gemini models, for example. There's some fine tuning as well. OpenAI has its own index. So that's pretty interesting to see how that goes. Again, Google has so much experience with this, spam, etc. So they have a lot to catch up to, and I'm not sure that OpenAI should or would want to be a search engine, although they, of course, might be trying. I think there are two different things. They can do two different things. There's some grounding here, stuff about grounding, which is good. The control over publishers as well. And that Google also wants to create a super assistant, so kind of a AGI, so to speak. But very interesting article. And then we've got some data from Ahrefs' proprietary tool here. And again, just following along what's going on in the search space. As of August, ChatGPT increased very little and Google dropped a little bit. And again, we're looking at traffic to websites. So what he's saying here is at this rate, it would take ChatGPT over 3 years to get to 1% of traffic share. So again, just there's a hype around AI. There's GEO, AEO. That is great. We should be helping people be visible in AIs. But by doing so, we're actually just doing a lot of good SEO. And our main focus, if it's about revenue, is definitely still Google. And specifically the AI tools Google is laying on top of search. So just a prioritization issue here. Like, let's not overhype ourselves too much. Anyone that's just anyone trying to sell 100% AI visibility instead of SEO is not good. Do not replace that. And they always overlap anyway. So yeah, just good reminder. This is a very technical analysis here done by Metehan Yesilyurt. Hope I pronounced that correctly. He's a good follow, by the way. Very technical though, but I'm nerdy as hell. What's interesting here is he's looking at like the searches and rankings and how they relate to being cited in ChatGPT. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on here, but the takeaway here is mid to strong rankings across multiple queries are more valuable than long tail low rankings. I think what he's saying is we want to be in the top 10 for multiple queries, but fixed at 60 is pretty good in terms of rankings. Let's see here. Query diversity is key, is one that's important. It does run multiple subqueries and fuses those results together. So you can see here clustering, repeat appearances in the top 40 results. So the top 40 results, topic clusters, that does sound a lot like what we've always been doing in SEO, trying to create topic clusters. Can we maybe move away from specific keywords now? Yes, that's what some of the strategies we're focusing on is, of course, what are people searching for? Can we get that? Structured out as content? But can we go beyond that and just answer questions we know people want or need the answer to? Is the next step, I feel. But we're not really changing much of our strategy anyway. But really interesting article nonetheless. Mary Haynes, again, highlights that Google's quality rater guidelines have changed. What's interesting from this one here is, let's see here. Where was it? Yeah, so they're actually treating AIOs as a specific search functionality, not just an add-on. So they're actually rating AIO answers, AI overviews, sorry. What's really interesting here is that Google then tells us that we should be focusing our content on, is it better than what AI overviews has produced? Is there more unique insight? If not, then that's what we should be producing. And that makes a lot of sense. Now, I would hate for Google to tell us that our content should go beyond AI overviews for them to use that content in AI overviews, thus losing the traffic anyway. But in essence, you should look at your AI overview answer and your SERP results and say, why would anyone click to read further beyond what the AI overview has given me? And again, please, Google, do not take that content that we're now creating that's super unique with insights and then just throwing it into an AI to synthesize it. That's how you destroy the web ecosystem. But pretty good takeaways nonetheless here. Yeah, so valuable originality. Treat AIOs as competition in the SERP is pretty interesting, actually. And then, of course, yeah, just your money or your life niches, you need to work on your EEAT. Also here, another AI overviews study done by Kevin Indig. What's interesting here is the brand. The article basically says that blue links are still the final trust decision maker and where people convert. So we should not just forget that. And basically maybe try and figure out, should we maybe focus our content strategy on that type of content instead of more factual that is just quickly answered in AI overviews, but also doubling down on authority signals, which is something that just keeps coming back. Expertise, citations, freshness, trustworthy branding, etc., etc. But yeah, blue link still closed the deal. That might be a could put that on my tombstone. And then finally, not to make this too long, structured data is becoming a critical layer for SEO and AI. I think I've probably have 2 or 3 articles this year around structured data and AI and how they are related. This is quite a good article. It's not too nerdy or techy and in-depth. So again, just another thing. And they specifically talk about marking up entities and looking at like what are your core entities, like people, services, etc. So quite a good top level guide on how to get started with that without like specifically telling you what to do. So yeah, that was week 37's AI and SEO news. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. I'll post these every Monday unless I'm on vacation. You can see all these news with short summaries, descriptions, and links in the video description. So just go there, copy paste it. You can then read up on all your lovely SEO and see you guys next week, or girls.